Composition of Sway started from when we actually had ArtSway as an option to have our university studios here, which allowed me the space to do rehearsals and sonic workshops. And I was looking into soundscapes, and specifically I was inspired by R. Murray Schafer, who's a Canadian composer, and he first coined the term soundscape. And he did a project called the World Soundscape Project in Canada, and they started looking at the environment and how every sound in the environment is important and makes up a whole soundscape, and how we can actually learn a lot from our environment by looking into acoustic ecology and soundscapes. And I was inspired by him and also a guy named Bernie Krause, who's an American acoustic ecologist, and he's done studies in Lincoln Meadow where he looked at selective logging companies and how they claim that they don't destroy the natural beauty of an area because they only take a few trees out here and there. So when you look at a picture of the sites, there's no visual difference, but it's actually when you hear recordings before and after that there's been a dramatic impact on the site that you just wouldn't know without those recordings. And he's been back there every year for 15 years, and he says that there's, the soundscape has never been back to what it was, the composition of Sway. And so I wanted to work with musicians, and I started by emailing loads of local amateur orchestras around the south and just saying that I wanted to do sonic workshops, and I wasn't sure what it was going to lead to. And then these musicians came up and we did a first workshop in ArtSway in January, and we spent the whole day here, and I started with what R. Murray Schafer calls as ear cleaning exercises, which isn't like the cotton buds that you put in your ear, but actually I started with a task where I asked them to all sit down, and I gave them a lecture, and then I said, right, I gave them each a piece of paper and a pencil, and I said, I want you to write down all the sounds that you can hear. And I think they were all a bit sort of like, what's going on here? Like, I don't understand. And then sort of 10 minutes into the exercise, they started to really engage with every sound that's in their environment, like the squeaking of the chairs and their breathing and sounds that were more personal to them. So we then did a sound walk to the forest in Sway, where I asked them to each sort of stand at a distance between each other so they couldn't hear each other. And it was all about engaging with the sounds around them. And when we got into the forest, we sort of discussed all the sounds we heard along the way. And then I asked them to play the sounds, play the environment, but without their instruments. So they had to engage directly with the site and directly with the sounds of them around them. Actually, it was really interesting because each musician had a different take on the soundscape, and I have a couple of flautists, and one woman actually started making sort of bird call noises with her mouth, and that was really engaging. So from that experience, we then spent a number of workshops using that experience as a way to make a composition that reflected the sounds that they'd made in the first workshop, but with using their instruments. So I wanted them to directly replicate the sounds that they made in the forest using their instruments. So the sounds that you hear aren't typical ways of playing, it's sort of unconventional ways of playing. Like Rosie, who's the keyboardist and she plays harmonica, she jangles her bracelets and rings on the keyboard to represent the sort of logs that you can hear falling in the forest. And actually there's sounds that we didn't expect to hear in the forest, like aeroplane traffic noises, and there's a generator in the forest which is a low drone that you can hear throughout the track. So the composition represents our journey from ArtSway into the forest and back. In Coastal Gallery's exhibition, I've put the work on as a recording, and there's a booklet that goes with the work that shows the photo documentation of the work that was taken by my partner, Samuel Barry.